Hey guys, what's up? Nullrage here to take a look at the level 52 review for Raccoon. I'm of course wearing the brand new movie costume for Raccoon in anticipation of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which hopefully I'll be going to see sometime this weekend. I can't wait. What about you guys? Raccoon has received a lot of changes in his level 52 review, giving him the ability to use guns as well as being a pet class. Let's take a look at his synergy to see if there's any kind of changes there. I doubt there is. Oh, I need to turn this stuff off anyway. Alright, here we go. Raccoon synergies, no, they remain unchanged. Giving you 5% pet and minion damage, or pet and minion damage. That'd be the same thing, whatever. Anyway, and 5% pet and minion health. Alright. So, let's go ahead and hop into his weapon specialist tree. First skill in the tree is going to be photon pistols. A high attack speed, basic attack. It's also got the gun tag on it. We're going to learn more about gun tag way over here. But for now, just know that, pretty much everything in this left tree is tagged as a gun power. Rapidly fire your twin handguns, unloading photon bursts that pierce through enemies. Pretty cool. Next up, we've got the M78 plasma launcher. Launch a high-intensity charge of plasma at a targeted location that burns and slows enemies. Gonna deal damage twice per second, and also slow targets by 50%. It's an 8-second duration. Let's have a look at that. Very cool. And another thing to note is when he uses his big gun powers, he pulls out some massive weapons. Most of them are larger than he is. So they've worked hard on these gun animations, and in my opinion they look pretty good. Alright, next up we've got shoot and run. Roll backwards out of combat, firing double shots from your photon pistols that stun your target. Energy damage in a stun and a rollback. The stun duration does increase with points put into the skill, as does the damage, of course. Here's a look at that. It's not a large distance, is it? Let's try. Okay, that's not bad. You have to be like closer to the target to really get. No, it's just a low range or a low jump back. I don't know. Next up, we've got Big Flarking Gun. Now, this was one of his main gun skills before the rework, and honestly, it was perfect the way it was. So they haven't changed it. There may have been some damage tuning and all that, but in essence, the Big Flarking Gun is the same as it was. Destroy your enemies with a constant stream of white-hot plasma from your biggest gun. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Alright, next up we've got Photon Minigun. Hold down the hotkey to subject enemies to the latest breakthrough in rapid-fire photon technology. Dealing fairly low energy damage, but firing extremely fast. Also, increasing your damage with this skill by 40% against elites and bosses. Let's have a look at that. And there goes the energy bar. So this is going to be a great target, or great skill for taking down bosses and elites, obviously, but mostly just bosses. Usually elites kind of fall over. Next up, we've got Heavy Plasma Rifle. Unleash heavy plasma rounds at your target that deliver explosive energy detonations on impact. This is a basic attack and an area attack. It's got a pretty massive area. I wasn't kidding about the range on that area. It's nice. I think it's one of the, as far as basic area attacks go, I think it's got the largest range of any of them. I think the other options possibly being Emma Frost. Her basic attack is also an area ability. I think Jean Grey has one as well, but none of them rival the range on this basic attack. Next up, we've got Heavy Gauze Rifle. Hold down the hotkey to charge up a high energy slug to supersonic speeds, piercing through enemies. This gun's effect overclocks your weapon batteries for a short time, giving them an extra kick. So you're going to get some extra damage rating for your gun powers after using this. Also, if you fully charge it, then it's going to hit for 100% damage. There's the scaling on that at 20 points, 392. Alright, let's have a look. Now, the skill itself, I believe, is tagged as a gun skill, yes. So it does increase the damage rating of itself if you use it in succession like I'm doing right now. Looks like the range on the damage numbers is just wide open, because some of them are hitting really hard, some of them are hitting like 8k.
I don't have the energy for it.
Alright, so let's move on to the Galactic Guardian tree, and this is where things are going to get a little bit crazy. Wish me luck, because this section is likely going to be heavily edited due to just the nature of summons and recording a video for them. They stay out too long, and I'm going to have to make sure to edit things so that they're not just making tons of noise. I missed, there we go. We'll just put that there. Alright, so let's get to it. My friend Groot. You've seen this skill in action already, but there is one thing to notice. He has a new charge ability here. In addition to his basic attacks that he does, you're also going to be able to sort of direct his fury. Also, when he's not summoned, you're going to gain damage rating. The damage rating, however, does not increase with points put in the skill, so if you're not going to use Groot, then just leave it at 1. Why would you not use Groot, though? Alright, let's have a look.
I am Groot!
Yes, you are. And this, of course, is his movie costume, which you will see if you are in Rocket's movie costume. So, I mentioned directing his attack. Let's come over here and send him over there with a big, nice charge, huge AoE damage. Now, there is I guess a little bit of a bug right now that if he's already engaged in attacking a target and you tell him to charge he'll just go for the target he was attacking instead of moving where you told him to. But hopefully that bug will get worked out, because that charge is awesome. Alright, first edit down, many more to go. That edit was to get Groot out of here. He is pretty much permanent. No duration on summoning him, but you can get rid of him by logging out and back in. Alright, so moving on to the next skill in the tree, Blaster Turret. It's the same as it was, pretty much, except turrets receive a tremendous boost of attack speed when initially deployed. Maximum of 3 of these, 5-second cooldown. Let's have a look at Blaster Turret. Tons of deeps on one target. Of course, it might be a good idea to just resummon these every so often to get that increased attack speed bonus. Not 100% sure. Alright, and that's the second edit. Let's move on to Time Warp Turret. That last edit was just simply to get rid of the blaster turrets because they last a little while. Actually, their duration's gone down. It's only 30 seconds now. How does the duration scale? Okay, yeah, the summon duration does increase with points put into the skill. So up to 2.1 minutes summon duration at max level. Alright, but anyway, moving on to Time Warp Turret. Again, scaling duration. Time Warp Turret simply slows enemies and enemies' projectiles in the area of effect of it. Alright, let's go find one of the ranged ones. This guy, right? He's ranged. Shoot me. And I can easily, well, I said I was gonna say easily, but I can't. Ow. I wanted to dodge in between them, but that didn't work too well. Anyway. That is Time Warp Turret. Slowing enemies and the projectiles. Next up we've got Suppression Turret, same as it used to be. You're allowed 2 of these, and they will do tons of AoE damage. I don't believe there's any taunt mechanic on them. Nope, just the AoE damage. Of course, the duration will scale with points put into the skill. And the tooltip is currently bugged. Max turrets of this type, 0. That'll be worked out. Alright, one more edit to get rid of the turrets, and we should be good to go with the rest of the tree. Next we've got C12 Stun Grenade, doing a little bit of energy damage, stun duration of 1.5 seconds, attack speed 1.1, also applying weakening for 8 seconds. Now I really like this animation. Let's find a good place to really have a look at the animation. Probably right here. Notice Rocket jumps up into the air, throws the grenades down in mid-air. I really like that. Doing his little flip there. Alright, moving on, we've got Gravity Mine. Now this was probably my favorite ability prior to his rework, and I imagine it'll be really good afterwards as well. However, I'm pretty stuck on this gun tree. I might be a gunner rocket. Alright, so Gravity Mine, pretty much the same as it was before. Doing some energy damage, applying vulnerability, sucking everybody in. I think the The sounds have changed. Of course, if you're way out at range, then it throws it a little while before it detonates. And if you're close, then it detonates almost instantly. Next up, we've got Keen Planning, which is mostly a passive effect, but is also your active CC breaker. Gives you a little bit of dodge, and you and your allies gain dexterity. Just completely passive. Yep, you always have dexterity. There's the scaling on the dodge, and the crowd control immunity. Crowd control immunity gets up there with a pretty high duration. Alright, moving on to Tactical Genius. We've got Rocket Dash here, we've got Combat Shield, got Razor Sharp Wits, that's going to be a passive. Let's put that on the bar, that on the bar, and that on the bar. And then we'll go over these two last. Assault Specialization and Battery Spec. They're rather interesting. Alright, so first off, Rocket gets a new dash here. He pulls out this little, I guess he'd call it a sword, but it's really just a little dagger. That's pretty cool. Deals some damage and also has a knockdown effect on it. I like that. Then of course Combat Shield, defense rating, and maximum damage absorbed increases with points put in the skill. Anytime this is up, you're going to negate 25% damage taken, so keeping this up at all times is pretty much a must. It's got a 5-second cooldown, and it should have a bar here that tells you how much is left, but I guess it does not. Alright, Razor Sharp Wits is the passive in the tree. You are able to see enemies on the minimap, give you a little bit of crit rating and brutal strike rating, a little bit of rare find too. You're pretty much going to be maxing this passive if you're doing pets for sure, because of that crit rating and brute rating. So that rare find is pretty much just like extra bonus. In addition, it will cause you to restore spirit and shield capacity when you pick up an orb. Very, very useful passive right there. Of course, we've got Rocket Flight. What would Rocket be without his jetpack? Alright. And then we've got Laser Drill Burrow. Now, this was my movement skill of choice prior to his rework, giving you attack speed and move speeds, also stealthing you for a short period of time. All of those effects increase with points put into the skill. There's a look at Laser Drill Burrow. The further you move your cursor from Rocket, the further you will go. Of course, you can't go through certain obstacles. And if you're close, then you just burrow a little bit. So always be sure to move your mouse out to the edge of the screen to get as much movement out of the skill as possible. And finally, we've got the H7 Fleet Slayer, his new signature ability. It is a signature ranged area. A lot of people have asked for this to be, tagged one way or the other to work with assault or battery. Can be activated up to 4 times within 15 seconds. Huge energy damage. Cooldown of 25 seconds. Only the damage scales with points put into the skill, but wow, it scales a lot. Alright, let's have a look at the H7 Fleet Slayer. There's all 4 activations, and look at this gun. That thing's huge. Alright, so let's talk about the specializations here. You've got 2 different specializations to choose from. One focusing mostly on guns, giving you a passive effect of increasing your damage with guns and also your crit rating with guns. There's the scaling on that. It also doubles as an active ability called Lock and Load, restoring your spirit. 12-second cooldown on that. Now I'm not going to spec into this right now because then I'd have to retcon out of it. I'm instead, I mean, this skill's pretty straightforward, so, you know, damage rating, crit rating, and a restore spirit ability. Pretty straightforward. So let's go instead and look at battery specialization. Battery specialization is a little bit more, there's a little bit more to it. It's set up mostly for those that want to use the Galactic Guardian and go a pet build. Your damage with your summoned ally damage is going to increase by 30.5%. The spirit cost of summoning your summons will reduce by 60%. And also, it's got this nice little added effect, Mechanical Mastery. Summon 1 additional blaster turret. Now, this, it needs a little bit more clarification, in my opinion, the Mechanical Mastery aspect of it. Because when it says summon 1 additional blaster turret,
Good things come to those who mow down a ton of bad guys.
it means not only can you summon 2 turrets at a time, but you also can have a maximum of 4 turrets instead of 3. So the answer to the question, wait, does that mean you summon 2 at once, or that you can summon 1 extra? The answer is both. Pretty cool. Alright, that's all of his regular skills. Let's move on to his ult, Mech Fall. Mount up and stomp skulls in style with the legendary Thanos Buster Mech Suit. Gain access to rockets, flamethrowers, and thrusters while piloting the mech. Now, I've never used this ability, so your guess is as good as mine. We're going to find out together. It's got a 30-second duration, typical 10-minute cooldown. Mine's reduced because I've got some points, some ultimate upgrades. And also, while in the suit, you're going to take 90% less damage. That's pretty huge. Alright, let's go stomp something. Oh man, look at this thing. Oh wow. Let's use some of the other abilities. He's got a dash thing, and he can jump death from above. I love this, dude. I'll just sit here and do this all day. And then it explodes, and Rocket jumps out. Wow. Now that's an ult. I love that thing. Alright guys, that was a look at Rocket Raccoon's level 52 review. Hopefully the edits go well. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to rate, comment, share, subscribe, and look forward to more Guardians of the Galaxy content Until next time, take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.